Get me that signal. We need more power.
Hello, hello. Please come in and sit down. I understand that you're planning an expedition to find the lost Incan treasure. Well, I'll be happy to share some of my expertise with you. You know, this reminds me a bit of the race to find the mysterious Worm of the Templars, in which my hardy band of explorers challenged teams from Lord Percy Aileron and Admiral Birdfoot. My, what a year that was! Rushing from place to place across the globe, we gathered bits and pieces here and there, from the underground streets of Mecca to the stormy islands south of the Cape of Good Hope. You see, the rules of the challenge prevented us from ever visiting the same location twice, so if any team made a mistake and failed to claim their prize, they would be unable to go back and retrieve it. The team with the most prizes, or victory points as we like to call them, at the end of the expedition was promised fame and fortune. Alas, it was a painful trek for me. My cat was eaten by pygmies in Argentina, and my twin prize Dobermans accidentally urinated on the Russian premier and disappeared right from my hotel that very night. I still receive periodic messages from the KGB accompanied by telltale paw prints, which I am unfortunately unable to read. I'm sorry. Please, let's talk about your plans. I believe that I can help you with your plans. I've developed this expedition planning kit that I call Expedition Famous Explorers. Let me read to you what it says. Expedition Famous Explorers is an updated version of the 2 award-winning Wolfgang... Oh, blast! I hate when I'm blind as a bat, especially when I don't have a bat nearby to help me. Wildlife adventure and expedition, with a new theme, discovery and exploration. Players lead 3 expeditions to... Oh, you sons of guns! 3 expeditions to various locations by placing arrows on a map. When an expedition arrives at a location that matches either a location card held by that player or a public destination, that player scores that card by placing it in front of them. Expedition Famous Explorers retains all the core rules of earlier versions of the game, but adds optional advanced rules that allow players to score additional points based upon purchasable Explorer and Assistant cards. As I mentioned, I've got this expedition planning kit here, and I'm sure it will help you. Let me show you how it works.
Expedition Famous Explorers from 8th Summit has the players taking part in 3 expeditions across the globe represented by different colored arrows. Here's a blue arrow. See? Each player has a set of cards with different locations listed on them, and their task is to influence the movement of the different expeditions so that they can pass through the locations that are on their cards. They gain points for each success, and the player with the most points at the end of the game wins. The game ends either when all of the arrows have been used, or at the end of a round in which a player scores their final location card. Now, to start the game, each player selects a color and one of their colored discs. Now, in a 2 to 3 player game, each player gets 12 destination cards, and in a 4 to 6 player game, each player receives 9 destination cards. And next, you flip up 6 destination cards near the board. A player who sends an expedition through one of these locations, and let's see if we can look at right there at the top of the board. Are those 6 cards sitting out there? A player who sends an expedition through one of these locations gains a victory point, and then that card is replaced with a new location. So let's say I go through send an expedition through Gunborn Ulfsson, well, then I get to grab this location card, get myself 1 point, and then a new location card is flipped up into the public destination area, way up by there. Then players then place 4 of their tokens on different locations on the board, matching 4 of their location cards. They can't be right next to each other, but they can be near other player tokens. These are each worth 2 points if an expedition passes through them, so you really want to get as many of these as you can. And then finally, each player receives 3 tickets. Then you're ready to play the game. Now, just to show you these location cards, what you would be doing is you would be saying, okay, I've got a couple of yellows, got some blues. Like, oh, look, I got 3 blues, so maybe I'll start putting all my tokens out by the blue. So this is pink, so LaSalle Expeditions is pink, so he puts a pink token on here by LaSalle Expeditions. Then we've also got Bratahalid. I don't know what it is. That goes up there. And so the pink player gets to put 4 of their tokens out, matching 4 of their cards. And they get to plan which ones they have based on what they have in their hand. The only limitation is you can't use a card that has this little X on it, because that is too close to the expedition start point. All the expeditions start here at this same point up around Norway, I believe. So what you want to do is look over your location cards and start planning the best routes to try and get the most points. On the first turn, the starting player, and you pick the starting player, there's a little starting player token that says the youngest player goes first, but whatever. Selects one of the arrows of any color and then places it from the starting spot along any of the dotted routes leading out from it. So I'm the first player, right? I'm pink. I say, all right, I'm going to choose a yellow arrow, and from start, I'm going to go out here from the start towards Holy Island. So I've placed my first arrow on the board. Every arrow placed will lead to either another location, a green dot, or a red dot. If the arrow points to another location, everybody has to check to see if it's one of their location cards. And if it is, then that player scores 1 point if it's hidden, or 2 points if it's one of their location tokens. If it's a green dot, like here and here and here, and all over the place, then that player gets to immediately place another arrow. If it's a red dot, then that player gets to take another ticket. See, here's the little tickets. After placing an arrow, that player either ends their turn, or they can use a ticket to place another arrow. A player can use up to 2 tickets on their turn. Tickets can also be used to remove an arrow at the end of an expedition. So if there were like 3 arrows here, you can use a ticket to remove that end arrow. But you couldn't use it to remove, say, this arrow, the middle arrow, or the beginning arrow. It only can be the ending arrow. You can use it to discard a location card, and you can select 2 new ones, and then you get to keep 1 of them. That's another way you can use your tickets. The next player can either add an arrow to the existing expedition, so we're on to the yellow player now. So he can either take a yellow arrow and add it to the end of the existing one, continuing that on in that direction, or whatever direction they might want to go in that direction. Or they can start a new expedition with a different colored arrow, going in a completely different direction. Eventually, you'll have 3 separate expeditions snaking out across the globe. Any player can add to any of the expeditions on their turn. Once any expedition passes through a location matching a player's card, that player immediately scores the points and places that card to the side. If it's one of their important locations, then they place the token on the card so that they know that it was worth 2 points. Now, a few rules for placing arrows. You can never place 2 arrows of the same color parallel to each other. Like that. Or going back in the opposite direction. Like that. So you'll generally only pass through each point once with each color. Now, different colored arrows can be placed along the same paths, though. If you happen to make a loop, then there's rules on how to resolve it, and it's fairly simple. That's it for the basic game. The advanced game adds a few rules. There are 7 Explorer cards included. Here's one of them. And you place 6 of them near the board at the start of the game. A player can purchase one of these Explorer cards for 2 tickets on their turn. Generally, these Explorer cards will give you bonus points for scoring the most cards of a certain color. See, score 4 points at the end of the game if you have scored the most purple expedition cards. Because, if you hadn't noticed, there are different sections. Each section's a different color. Like here, South America is all green, North America is all blue, we got Africa as yellow, and so on across the board. A purchased Explorer card is replaced by an event card, and those can be purchased for 1 ticket. Here's an example of an event card that was upside down. Slow and steady. Use immediately. If you currently have the least points, you are tied with the least points. Gain 1 point. Otherwise, discard this card out of play. So that would get you 1 point. And it has other effects like this. And then finally, one of the other rules is that 2 of the public destinations become secret destinations. These are left face down. And then when a player places an arrow to a green dot, instead of placing another arrow, they can instead choose to peek at one of the secret destination cards. They can get 2 points for placing an arrow to a secret destination. And that's how you play Expedition Famous Explorers.
Listen, old boy. I'll admit that when I set this game up, I wasn't expecting much. The coolest thing about it was all of the colored arrows that were included. Note, these are a choking hazard, so watch the young ones and the drunken friends. I like the board, too. I always appreciate a well-drawn world map, and the arrows fit on it nicely. The rules were fairly simple, and I was up and playing in short order. Lo and behold, I found myself having a great time. I played 1 game with the basic rules, and then added in the Explorers and the other advanced rules for every game after that. This could easily be considered a gateway game along the same lines as Ticket to Ride. There's easily more strategy than luck in this game. You have to plan out the best routes to get to your important destinations. But you have to be able to adapt quickly to changes, because your opponents can move things about at any time. For 2 or 3 players, you'll have an easier time at the beginning, because you'll probably each start your own routes. Once you get 4 or more players, though, you really have to stay alert, and know when to use your tickets, because the routes are much harder for you to control. However, it is also more likely that someone else will accidentally pass through one of your destinations and earn points for you if you have a higher number of players. I found myself enjoying this expedition immensely. It's simple and strategic and should appeal to gamers of all types, but I see it especially appealing as a family game. It's the right length and the scores stay close enough that it remains exciting all the way to the end. The proper use of your tickets can really mean the difference between winning and losing in this game. I also like the fact that each card is packed with flavor text about every location, so that you can learn while you play if you are so inclined. Some of the most famous explorers, locations, and expeditions are included, so your grade schoolers can learn something while they're having fun. Well, we wouldn't want to have any of that, would we? The only problem I spotted was a misprint on the board. The card for Tick-Tight Habitat is blue, but it's green on the board, and I spotted a misspelled location on another card. Other than these minor things, I didn't have any negatives. Either it will appeal to you, or it won't. So hopefully I've explained the game well enough for you to make that decision. I've never played the games that this game was built upon, so I can't give you any comparison there. I played this one, and I had a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me in this review of Expedition Famous Explorers from 8th Summit. Let me know if you found this review helpful by leaving a comment or sending me an email at elliott_miller@voiceofe.com. Make sure to subscribe to the Voice of E channel on YouTube. Hey, good show. And as I'll have plenty of gaming, entertainment, and comic book coverage this year, it should be a lot of fun. Thanks again, and until next time, keep your mind free.
Get me that 6. We need more pound.
Sure. Now it doesn't come out.